Good evening. Calling this meeting of the Coventry Sewer Subcommittee to order at 6:30 PM. We'll do a roll call. Tony Raposo, Lisa Castelli,
Here.
Hillary Lima, Michael Sakosha, Kevin Snow is absent, Michael Beard is absent, James LeBlanc, chair, is here. Pledge of Allegiance. If you could all stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Emergency evacuation plan, exit out the doors to the rear and take a left or a right. Left would take you to the parking lot, right would take you to the grass. You good? All right, agenda item number 5, approval of meeting minutes. Minutes of May 16th, 2024, minutes of August 14th, 2024. I hear a motion to approve, making a motion to approve as a block. Michael will make that motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second. Just do a roll call vote on making this vote as a roll call as a block. Those in favor say aye. Aye. The ayes have it. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion.
Have a motion? Have a second? Have a second? All right. All in favor? I'll do a roll call. I'll do a voice vote. Those in favor say aye. Aye. The ayes have it. Minutes are approved.
I'll abstain.
You're gonna abstain?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wasn't
Record.
there for the 14th, but I'm listed as there. Well, I came in and you guys had already adjourned.
Good job. All right. Well, you're abstaining, correct?
Yeah.
All right. Have the records show that Member Lima is abstaining. Agenda item number 6, sewer tie-in. Actually, we do not have any sewer tie-ins at this meeting. Agenda item number 7, new business resolution 2024-05 to increase the sewer user charge. Assistant Town Manager Rodman.
Good evening. So you have before you 2 resolutions. One is to increase the sewer use fee, and one is to adopt a minimum balance, a minimum for users that don't go over 4,000. So I'm not the one to get into the real specifics of the numbers themselves, only just to say that the recommendations for increasing it come from the facilities plan that we adopted or that we went through back in January, and also a report that was done by the Auditor General. We haven't increased those fees for 5 years. Monique's here and is better able to describe the actual differences from this year to the other. You've got oodles of numerical information from the finance director. And then there's a chart in here that shows the impact of those fees in terms of getting into the details from one thing to the other. That the thing that is probably the most important is looking at the fees and where the enterprise fund is now. It's not in a position to support itself, and a number of the fees that we have to charge on a regular basis are just not being covered by the fees that we have to pay for services are not being covered by the users of the system. So it's really sort of a policy decision right now. The general fund is supporting the sewer fund. You know, we've done some things to improve our efficiency, bringing in the work that was being done by Weston Sampson and House. But it's still, if you look at the chart that came with the, I think it's in your packet, that shows that basically if we continue at the rate that we're going, we're just going to get that fund more and more in debt. And this is just an attempt to start to balance that so that we can get that fund closer to being self-sustaining.
I see Ms. Marcolini is on. Is she going to be speaking on this subject? I just wanted to at least
I
ask.
could. Good evening. How are you?
Doing well.
Good. I can tell you, I don't know if you have two graphs there, but scenario one.
We do. We have fund
Uh,
scenario 1 and then fund scenario 2.
Okay, so scenario one provides a graph that's reflective of a 10% or a 10% incremental fee increase. And that projection would bring the fund balance positive in the year 2032. So it's very far out to the point where the fund is self-sustaining. And that scenario one reflects no sewer extensions, no additional users than the ones that are currently on the system. Scenario two reflects a 30% increase this year for the next 2 or 3 years, and then very small incremental increases the years after, and is also reflective of the sewer extension projects that were recommended. Excuse me, sorry. Like the Briar Point planning area 9, and then planning area 8 piggybacking on that, and then 1 and 2 up near the high school, and so on. We had given a schedule associated with that. So scenario 2 is reflective of that larger rate increase in the short term, smaller rate increases in the long term, and the recommended sewer extension or capacity increase.
Just a quick question for you, Mr. Marcolini. On the scenario 1, do you know what it would look like with the sewer extensions? Because I just feel like if we're having 2 different scenarios, I would have wished that we only changed one aspect, which would have been the 10% increase and the 30% increase. But I feel like in these 2 scenarios, we actually have multiple different changes. So we're not really looking at apples to apples, in my opinion. That being said, I guess my quick question would be, in scenario 1, with the sewer extensions that we know are in the plan that that has been approved by the council, do you know when we would be positive? Because right now it's reflecting, looks like 2032.
It's 2032. It's probably it would probably be somewhere. I would have to run that cost model. The 2
Gotcha.
scenarios that we did project were the ones requested of us. We were asked to look at 10% and no extensions, and then
Gotcha.
in the short term, the higher cost increases. But so scenario 1, if the sewer extension projects were pursued, there would be capital outlay that the incremental increase would not cover as soon as the additional users would not cover those incremental cost increases for farther out into the future. So it could be farther out than 2032, but unless I ran the cost model, I wouldn't be able to say definitively.
Understood. Nope, I think that's fair.
Okay.
And then I think there's also in our packet, there is a page talks about, it's titled Impacts on Average Residential Customer. And then it shows the average annual bill scenario 1, average annual bill scenario 2. Would you be able to speak on that slide as well?
No, I think that the finance director or Monique presented that information or prepared that information.
Oh, okay. It has Fuss and O'Neill at the bottom of the page, so I thought that was you. I apologize.
If I may, that's the chart with the blue stripe that actually came from
Oh,
the sewer facilities plan.
so that is the scenario 1 and scenario 2 chart?
Yep, and it talks about what the average annual bill will be. I just want the public to hear. I mean, it's currently reflecting in 2023, I see 805, 805 for both scenarios, and then 2024, I see 862 for scenario 1, 956 for scenario 2. 2025, I see 924 for scenario 1, 1,123 for scenario 2, and then for 2026, it says $992 and for scenario 1 and 1,335 for scenario 2. I just, if we could give the public who is listening some color on that, I would appreciate it, and the committee.
So the average, so we averaged the 700 or so sewer users annual bills and their usage numbers, and the cost model, the recommended rate increase was applied to that current average user's bill. And we projected out what their bill would look like with that rate increase, that recommended rate increase, and then applied a dollar value to the current average bill, and then compare that to the projected average bill with the rate increase.
Makes a lot of sense. Again, just for the public and for the board, scenario 1 is what percent of an increase? And scenario 2 is what percent of an increase?
Scenario 1 for this first year, this recommended year, scenario 1 is a 10% increase on the Coventry rate, the Coventry rates, and the scenario 2 is a 30% rate increase on the Coventry rates.
I'll take a pause. Any members, Member Lima?
Yeah, so I had the same question that Chairman LeBlanc had. I don't know why we wouldn't want to compare the 10% increase, including sewer extension, to a 30% increase, including sewer extension. I guess we can make guesses as to when we would go get solvent or break even. But I don't know why we wouldn't want to compare to that. Because I think we're extending we know that we have to do that in addition to this. So it would be nice to see that, or at least have some ballpark of when we could be solvent with extension for a 10% increase. So that's my only one. And then I mean, I think it would also be worthwhile to even see something in the middle. Maybe it's a 20. I just see all three and see what that would look like as well. I mean, that's just some of my thoughts right off the bat and seeing some of these figures.
Thank you. Member Sakosha?
I would say one of my concerns is the fact that we're looking at this as to obviously what our debt is, what the income is on the sewer assessments and usage and construction. But how does this compare to other communities that they're paying?
It's a great
Yeah.
question.
Monique has that.
Monique, okay. Could you share that, Mrs. Hool? Okay.
Westerly, as far as I know, you pay whether or not you pay it. If the line goes by, you pay use. And it's just that.
My only question would be though, with our bill, we're also paying West Warwick.
Right. That is.
Okay.
So West Warwick portion is the West Warwick portion. You pay that, it's a flow bill. So I took-
But the homeowners have to pay that as well.
Right, but that's part of West Warwick.
So when you add the 340 plus the,
So it would, I mean, it would obviously be more, but I was looking at what Coventry is increasing.
Gotcha.
West
I
Warwick
get
is not increasing. So if we do the 30%, they'll increase it by, it'll be $6.33 for the product portion, and our add-on or surcharge is $1.86. So I figured at $8.49 times the 73, and then I did the same for the 10%. That's kind of falling.
Okay, so with the 30% increase, we would be probably top third. And then I look with the 10% increase, we'd kind of be right in the middle, maybe a little lower than the middle, is what you're saying, with all the other towns that have it.
Because the 4,000 minimum, that's how much more.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, that's a great chart. That's a great chart. And I think that's a great question, Member Sakosha. So we can get copies of that before we make a final determination here. Any other members have any questions? VP Raposo?
Laura, when you say no extension, meaning no additional lines going in the town? Or no
That's
additional
correct.
sewer?
No additional sewer extensions, no increase in the number of users than the current users. That's
So if-
correct.
So if the town had more users, wouldn't it be making more money with the sewer program?
Yes, the town would be making more money with the sewer program if more people connected. It's unfortunate the sewer infrastructure, is very limited, and it's not, contiguous, if you will. It's in different areas or different neighborhoods, and it hasn't been extended so that more people could connect.
Just
and
to,
my
just
last
Doug Brzee, I'm on the line as well. Just to add to that, that's why in scenario number 2, you see kind of the fund balance revenue go up so rapidly towards the end of the year, is because those sewer extensions are starting to come into effect. So that additional revenue as a result of those users coming online is what is leading to that fund balance kind of taking that exponential turn in the positive direction.
And the rate increase at that point in time goes down or goes away. So, or could go away.
Has this accounted for any work that's going to be going on in the center New England area? This was
Yeah.
done last year, so none of
That
that.
is,
coming
no,
in. Okay.
that
we
does
are
not
getting-
take that into account.
The only other thing that I that has this too, which is probably a number that we're able to find to add to the gallons and the usage and the expense what the high school cost us last year. Gallon.
I'm sorry, I can't hear what.
No,
I'm
I
sorry.
don't know if your mic's on. No, it's
My
on.
mic is
Yeah,
on.
yeah.
So the high school, we pumped the high school and we disposed of the sewage in West Warwick or a
Mhm.
sewage facility.
Right.
And that's gonna be coming online, I would say within the next 9 months, spring of 26.
Mhm.
So,
Couple of years.
that's gonna be a direct effect to this number. I mean,
Well,
Agree.
That
What do-
should, that
what do they
should
pump out of
give us
there?
32 new users we'll have.
I'm sorry?
32 new users will be on that system.
Right, but the
Approximately.
majority of that usage of that line is gonna be the high school,
Yes,
which we already know the volume usage of that, correct?
yes.
So,
Yeah, I think they're doing 4,000 or 5,000 gallons, I want to say. I mean, they're doing a truckload a day, so the truck holds 35,000 gallons, 3,500 gallons, so that is going to be the main user, correct?
I had one more question, Laura. You went 10% and 30%. Could we run numbers at like 15 or 18% and see what that looks like as well?
Mm.
Something in the middle?
we ran the numbers that were requested of us by the town council when we were in the facility planning process. But we
Understood.
do have a working model, and we could run another scenario or two, but
Because if looking at this, if we did 15%, we'd come in like 2029, I'm guessing, or 30, pretty close to being even. I'll be
Member,
off with that.
member, I
So
think you
this-
might be
On
off.
scenario 2.
Yeah, scenario 2, if we change it's 30, 30, 30, and then it drops to like 5% or 6% the year after that.
Right.
So if we spread it 15s, the 15s will be across multiple years, not just in the short term, in the first 3 years. So,
Member Lima.
So if I could, I know that I know there's a deadline looming to get these bills out. And I know there's a council meeting on Tuesday, and I'm not trying to circumvent this committee, but I don't know if this committee wants to recommend that X scenarios with the built-in additional infrastructure be presented to the town council on Tuesday. And they can make a decision from there. I'm not trying to circumvent the committee, but I know we're under the gun, unfortunately. So I just wanted to throw that out there because I don't know what the turnaround time looks like to get this committee back together again. And then the council doesn't meet again until the last Tuesday in October.
I can agree with that.
Mr. Chairman,
Sorry, go ahead.
are we able to take the 30% and the 10% and come up with, let's just say 10% for, as a pick for the year 2024 increase, and then come back to this issue later on and figure out whether that's gonna work for 2025 and 2026, so that the sewer department and Monique can get the tax bills out.
So I can appreciate the comment. However, this subcommittee isn't the one who ultimately is determining the rate. It will be the town council / sewer commission. We make a recommendation to the town council. So what I'm hearing, I think, from you is that you would recommend the 10% goes to town council for 2024
What I'm recommending is that we go to 15%.
or 15.
15%, we split the difference, and then we come back and we review the rest and give a better recommendation.
Understood. Completely appreciate
So-
that. I think that's fair. The only thing going along, Member Lima, that I would love for the town council meeting at least, is to see this scenario using all of the same information, with the only exception that we show a 10%, a 15%, and a 30% scenario. All else stays the same. So extensions, and so on and so forth, so that we're just looking at the exact same information with the only exception of the rate change.
Be able to also see this scenario for, I'm noticing in these other communities that they have tied in and not tied in fees. Are we able to do that with what we have?
I think we would have to change the ordinance for that to happen. We do. We do. So we have some work there. So I think the answer is we'd have to change the ordinance, so we can do it. We just can't
Can't do it.
make a recommendation now,
That's fine.
is my point. That's all.
They do, but I'm wondering what that minimal fee every year is, how that helps this whole budget plan, because it does run by their house, whether they elect to tie into it or not.
Oh, you're not saying townwide, you're saying if the line runs by your house, you're paying a fee.
Correct.
Okay. But yeah,
Because I believe our new rule is if the line goes by your house after 1 year, you get an assessment, correct?
Currently, no. You do not. Not if you have a working septic that is certified recently.
No, the assessment, not the usage.
we don't even have someone keeping track of who put a waiver in when it went by their house, whose septic has failed and now has to, we have, none of that is tracked. We don't have a list of where sewer runs by and who's tied in and who's not.
We have
based on-
sewer maps, but yeah, we don't have a person who's responsible for it currently. I know.
I think if we kept track of that, I think we would
Yeah.
find not only tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars here
That's
on an annual
low-hanging
basis.
We have brought that up before, for sure. I guess, what is the pleasure of the committee?
I'm fine with making a recommendation to the council, but I do think the recommendation needs to come with alternate scenarios, and the charts need to be apples to apples.
I would agree. So do I hear a motion to make we can make a recommendation for a 15% increase to the council with the need for the graphs to be ready to present to the town council. All scenarios, how about we do a 10, a 15, and a 30?
Yep.
All scenarios have the same components with the only exception of the rate increase, the 10, the 15, and the 30, but it would be the sewer subcommittee's recommendation that we ask the town council for a 15% increase. Is that what I'm hearing?
Also, that maybe we also include with that package that goes to them, the 2023 annual Rhode Island residential sewer
Agreed.
user charge survey amongst all the towns.
Agreed. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion.
All right.
We
Ms.
gotta
Bush?
send a resolution to the council though. So we're gonna have to edit, we're gonna have to amend the,
I just don't know if Laura can have that done by Tuesday.
Yeah.
well,
And-
I mean, we need that information.
Weren't you having the council vote on something?
You were gonna have
Tuesday?
us vote on this Tuesday.
Have you put whatever passed tonight was gonna be going in front of the council on Tuesday, correct?
I mean,
But this is a whole different study you're asking her to do.
It's not really. I mean, they have all the
how did she do the
information.
math 30%?
Yeah, it's using the exact same information for scenario 2.
No, I
The
mean,
only thing changing
ask her.
is 10%, 15%, and 30. I would think that
Formula.
it's a formula.
Um,
I defer to
may I
Laura.
just ask one question?
Sure.
So if we're going to run 10%, 15%, and 30% for
Yes.
scenario 2 in the cost model,
Yep.
are we going to spread the 15 and 10% recommended rate increases over multiple years or more years so that we maintain the 2029 as the break-even year?
I would only
Because-
want to use one rate increase. That would be my recommendation because I don't know what a future subcommittee nor council would approve. I personally don't think, I mean, this is just as a town council member, I would never approve a 30, 30, 30. So,
And
I mean,
well,
if that's what you were thinking in this scenario, like one year would be 30, the next year would be another 30%, and then another one would be another 30%, I would never approve that.
and not to mention our original plan of how we're gonna tackle these planning areas already got thrown to the wind
Right.
because of issues at the high school. So, because originally it was gonna be Briar Point, Ty Oak area. Those were gonna be the first two.
Agreed.
And then, so I think that's another contingency we can't plan for.
Agreed.
So,
So
And
I would just like to see scenario 2 with one increase at 10, one at 15, and one at 30 available to the council on Tuesday. Would that be possible, Ms. Marcolini?
And is it just for this first year
Correct. Yep.
and then thereafter, no rate increases?
I wouldn't want that in the scenario because that is uncertain.
Okay, well,
Okay.
sure.
I just
I-
want to see where it would lead us.
Okay. The sewer fund, I think, is what it will show is that the fund balance will remain negative for a very long time until such time as you have more users online. So I'm not quite sure where the revenue will come from in order to cover those other extensions.
so
Oh.
Laura, I think we're on different pages.
Okay,
So on scenario 2, you articulated that this is a 30% rate increase, and this accounts for the income from added users based on our plan, right?
yeah, so
Scenario-
the 30% was in a short term was multiple years, 30%. And then in the fourth year, the rate increase drops to like 5%. And
Yeah.
then when the fund balance comes into the black,
So
the town council could elect to not have additional rate increases at that point in time.
So my ask is, can we see what a 10% increase would look like, including the projected added users as you did for the 30% and then the 15. We just want to compare apples to apples.
Okay, sure.
That's it. Yeah, that's why we're having trouble understanding why that may be a heavy lift, because it's that, I assume it's a formula that helped you do that for the 30%. We just want to see the same calculation for 10% and a 15%.
Okay, I can do that. We can do that.
Perfect. Okay.
Thank you.
We want to see 3 scenarios now, because
We
scenario,
want to use scenario 2 as the base, and we want to do 10, 15, and 30.
no scenario.
I got it.
All right. So I think
There was a motion second on the floor for
There was.
recommendation.
any other discussion on the motion that has been made? All right, hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote here. Tony Reposo, Lisa Castelli,
Yes.
Hillary Lima,
Yes.
Michael Scotia,
Yes.
Kevin Snow's absent, Michael Beer's absent, James LeBlanc, yes. So the motion has passed. So now we will look at the actual resolution to see what needs to change in the resolution.
I think it's lines 46, 47. I just don't know what the calc would be.
So Ms. Hool, would you be able to let us know what the amount per 100 cubic feet would be at 15%? Say that, hang on one second. Can you say that one more time? Okay. Awesome. Thank you very much.
I'll make a motion to amend line 46 and 49 with those totals.
Great. We have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Member Scotia second it. All right. Any discussion? Hearing none, to a roll call vote. Tony Reposo, Lisa Castelli,
Yes.
Hillary Lima,
Yes.
Michael Scotia,
Yes.
and I also vote yes. So motion has passed. Resolution has been adjusted for the 15% increase.
Make a motion to approve the resolution as amended.
Motion to approve the resolution as amended. Do I have a second? We have a second from Mr. Reposo. All right, roll call vote. Tony Reposo, Lisa Castelli,
Yes.
Hillary Lima,
Yes.
Michael Scotia,
Yes.
and James LeBlanc, yes. So the amended resolution has been approved. Moving on, agenda item number 7, new business, letter B, resolution 2024-06 to institute and adopt a minimum annual sewer use fee. Assistant Town Manager?
So the minimum user fee is meant to cover expenses that we incur no matter what one's usage is. So there are standard things that no matter what someone, how much water they use, which is how their bill is determined, we have fixed costs. So it'd be things like chemicals, staffing, increases that we're going to see from West Warwick's capital projects, things of that nature that no matter how much you use, those expenses don't change. It mirrors the minimum use charge that's being charged by West Warwick and others. So that's the premise behind this resolution.
And when you say West Warwick and others, do you know how many other towns have this type of charge? Sorry, do you mind coming to the mic just for anybody listening? I apologize.
As far as we're concerned, we have the bonds that we have to pay West Warwick for the collection debt, the infrastructure improvements, and the phosphorus fee. West Warwick charges a separate line item on their user fee, on their user bills. We don't, and we have no way to pay that.
Mhm.
We're not collecting it.
Mm-mm.
West Warwick charges $30 per unit for the collection debt. They charge $50 per unit for the infrastructure, and they charge $40 a unit for phosphorus. We charge 0.
Got it. So this is a different
This-
avenue of trying to collect some of
Yeah,
that.
and they also have the minimum on top of it. But this at
Gotcha.
least, yeah, so this at least helps us.
Okay. Nope, that's very helpful. I appreciate it. Thank you. Any members have any questions or comments on this? Essentially, my understanding is that we could have some homeowners that are below this minimum threshold. And this bill essentially is increasing their bill to a minimum, so a guaranteed amount for the town. That is my understanding. Anybody's have a different understanding? Okay.
This is for any user that's on.
Correct. Correct. I believe that is the answer. If they're connected to the sewer line, whether or not they're using it, they have to be connected. Just because the line's by their house and they're not connected, they would not be subject to this.
Do we have a fee chart for this?
Yeah, it was in the packet. So it's, it has 11 at the bottom, but at the very top, it says, with minimum, with no minimum. Yep. Since we aren't the first town that's instituting this, and there are several others, I understand why it's necessary. And we're also not charging the separate fees like West Warwick is for the bond, for the debt. Obviously, we have to pay back. So this does make sense to me. Member Lima?
So am I twisted around if I ask, how does this contribute to the scenarios we just saw with increasing the fee? Does a minimum fee get us closer to solvency quicker?
Mhm.
Like, I mean, so the scenarios we were shown don't assume a minimum. I guess that's my question. Is that right?
Ms. Marcolini, my assumption is that a minimum is not included in either scenario 1 or scenario 2, but just wanted to clarify if you know if a minimum was included in that.
No, that's a good question.
It's a good question.
I-
Kudos. Kudos.
We-
Hey, yeah.
We
I know it's
did-
recommended in the facility.
We did recommend, in the facility plan report, we did recommend lining up the minimum with the West Warwick minimum.
So that's another thing that I'd like the council to see as well. I think that affects decision on what percent increase it needs to be each year. It sounds like that would get us to solvency at different rates, and I think that's an important factor to consider. I don't think these should be mutually exclusive.
Agreed. So
The-
if you could just make sure, Ms. Marcolini, when we have the graphs for the town council, if you could just ensure that the minimum fee is also included in this scenario, we would appreciate it.
But otherwise, the minimum seems to be like pretty standard thing.
It
so
is. Yep, agreed.
I'm okay with the resolution.
Any other comments or questions? Hearing none. Do we have a motion to approve the resolution as written?
I'll make the motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a second. Do a roll call vote. Tony Reposo, Lisa Castelli,
Yes.
Hillary Lima,
Yes.
Michael Scotia.
Yes.
I also vote yes. All right, agenda item number 8, public sewer subcommittee member comment. Any public comment this evening? Got no one online. Okay. Go ahead, Member Lima.
Maybe Mr. Levesque can answer this, just out of curiosity. Maybe this has been mentioned at previous meetings I haven't been to, but when should this committee expect to see anything related to the sewer project around the high school.
If you could come to the mic if you don't mind, or whoever's going to speak.
And given the
Yeah.
ordinance, those letters have to go out like now, right? If it's.
They already went
Oh,
out.
they already went out? Okay.
If I may, the letters did go out.
Oh, okay.
And now we're at a spot where we need information from individual households. So where they would like the connection to be, because we're gonna tap the main whether they connect or not. So what we're looking at is doing an invitation event so that, because we were gonna send out a letter that says, here, fill in this chart to show, where you want your connection, show us where your well is and your driveway is and all of that, but, I don't know how many engineers we have in those 30 residences, but it's a lot for people to figure out. So what we're looking to do is an outreach event so that we can invite folks, and the folks from Fuss and O'Neill can be there and explain to folks what information that we need from them. And also, there's going to be folks that are going to be baffled by the whole thing of filling out their own map, so that they can look to find where things are on their property, and then we can help them fill out the information. So that's the next step.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, I will take a motion to adjourn at 7:12 PM.
So moved.
A motion. Got a second? Those in favor say aye. Aye. Ayes have it. We are adjourned.